3 races down and 3 races still to go in the 2023 Michelin Le Mans Cup. We are back now to the regular 1 hour and 50-minute races, though, after a break from the norm during the weekend at Circuit de la Sarthe, supporting the great 24 hours of Le Mans, and a very special year, of course, for that particular race, celebrating the 100th centenary event in 2023. Michelin Le Mans Cup's got a bit longer to go to reach that sort of numbers, but there was a Thursday and Friday race this year. Normally the second race reserved to Saturday morning, but just not the space for the schedule on the schedule this year, so it ran instead on Friday morning. Some interesting results. There were obviously some extra cars added into the mixture as well, so we have to dig down a bit further through the results to find out who were the best points scorers within this particular championship. But it's going to be again a 2-driver affair for the race later on today, starting at 5:10 local all the way through till 7 o'clock. Therefore, but qualifying for the GT3s is about to get underway with me, Tony Palmer, and of DailySportsCar.com.
1 pit exit is now open. This is the beginning of GT3 qualifying.
And away we do go.
Please remind drivers to remain between the 2 white lines. Any track limit at T14 will entail the deletion of the current and next lap.
Additional race in Aragon added to the schedule going into the, well, middle evening really. Don't think we're going into darkness, but it won't be far short of that. But when we go for this GT3 qualifying, 12 cars here, and it's a real mixed bunch as well. We've got, you saw the Aston Martin Vantage of Valentin Arzaclo. We've got the Porsches here, Lamborghinis, the Audi from Stella Motorsport, the 2 new Ferrari 296 GT3s from AF Corsa, the Hondas that dominated last year, 2 of those back this time, more Lamborghinis, more Porsches, a really mixed bag of 12 cars here, missing the BMWs that did so well at the Road to Le Mans, of course, but they will be back without a shadow of a doubt next year. Whether or not that's going to be in the European Le Mans Series or the Michelin Le Mans Cup will remain to be seen.
Or it did the World Endurance Championship.
Oh, they'll certainly be in the World Endurance Championship, but as to just exactly what we're going to see next season in the LMS and Michelin Le Mans Cup, that's going to come out the wash.
Yes.
Lots of machinations in the paddock, in the offices here and beyond, as to what this new era of sports car racing is going to present for us.
But one thing that may have been missed for followers of those 2 races is, yes, it was a standout win in the end for Valentino Rossi in the Team WRT car, but the best placed of the championship cars to cross the line was the Caffeine 6 HCR Porsche, and I think actually a double win, therefore, across the Le Mans week for that car.
And closes up the gap that existed after Barcelona to just 5 points at the top of the championship with the Racing Spirit Le Mans Aston Martin. The points podium for the 10 at Le Mans in the first race, second in the points for the HDI Caffeine 6, and 4th in the second race. Less good result for the Aston means it's very close, and 3rd in the points is the number 18 Team Parker Racing Porsche.
All bunching up nicely.
It is.
And obviously the Le Mans races only awarded 15 points for a win, whereas we're back to the regular 25 for a race win this afternoon, and a point standing for pole position in both of the classes as well. So we're doing GT3 to start with, 15 minutes for these 12 cars. It'll be another 15 minutes for 30 LMP3 cars in due course. Arnaud Robin has really been the man to stop regarding pole positions in bronze sessions. There was that anomaly that we have every year, which is a session at Le Mans for qualifying where you can use any of your drivers, so golds are permitted, and it was Anders Fjordbach of the championship regulars that got pole position again for the HCR with Caffeine 6 Porsche 911 GT3R. That's the 991 iteration of the GT3, but Arnaud Robin has 2 poles to his name in the Aston Martin. Could he make it 3 today? We've already started to see some good times coming through, although we're on our fast lap, the first fast lap of the session right now, in fact.
We are indeed, but timing showing an anomaly. It can't be Valentino Arzaclo because it's got the bronze driver.
Unless they've forgotten at Racing Spirit of Le Mans, but yes, that should be more of a driver ID error rather than he being put out for qualifying. We'll soon be able to tell by the times being churned out by Car 10.
We most certainly will. But what we expect to see here, Johnny, as we do in most of these qualifying sessions for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, is a steady improvement through the session by just about every car on every lap, which does make these sessions all the more exciting.
Yeah, and that's great to see the progress through the course of a qualifying session. You also then, if the bronze is plugged in for the start of the race, get to see their times really come down as well through the course of what has to be a minimum of a 45-minute stint, whether you're bronze, silver or gold. And I've seen some conflicting figures for the pit stop itself that will be done somewhere at half distance. Looking like 160 seconds though, whether you're in GT3 or LMP3. We will deal with that closer to the time.
First time's coming through, and the first car into the sub-2 minute bracket comes from Charles Henry Samani in the 83 AF Corsa car. 1:59.872 plays teammate in the sister AF Corsa car, the 51 car, Hiroshi Kazumi in 2 minutes .264. So it's Ferrari 1-2 in this early exchanges. So the Honda's got to do here. Lars Engelbrecht Pedersen was the first man to cross the timing line to set a quick lap. At the moment he's, what is that, 1.4 seconds off the provisional pole time. That will no doubt come down, and come down quickly as the confidence builds in the cars, the heat in the tyres comes in, the grip comes from these Michelin tyres. Here's the 63 car. This is the Iron Lynx car of Hiroshi Hamaguchi. So we have two Hiroshis in this session. Hiroshi Hamaguchi, one of the very early adopters in the LMP3 days of the, what was then the Michelin GT3 Le Mans Cup, and has campaigned in this championship in both McLaren and Lamborghini machinery.
He was with FFF Racing Team by ACM in 2016. 2016 was the first ever year of this particular championship, but it was exclusively reserved for GT3 cars, although the Road to Le Mans event in 2016 did invite LMP3s as a big extra. It was possibly over half the grid for that, and then everyone thought, well, this is a great idea to go with two categories as part of the Le Mans Cup, so LMP3 permanently introduced from 2017 onwards. It's an AF Corsa 1-2 at the moment in qualifying for Hiroshi Koizumi, but as I say that, Tim Kresick goes over the line for HCR with Caffeine 6, so this potentially could be Kresick's first pole position of the season, although Arnaud Robin is now about to complete a lap. He's 10th at the moment, but that's only because he hasn't posted a flying lap yet. He goes quickest by 0.4 of a second to continue this string of two poles in a row on a hat-trick, Arnaud Robin. Indeed,
1:58.357, and was that the Stella car? The Audi?
Facing completely the wrong way.
James Woods has had a bit of a moment. So it is as Gabriele Rendoni takes the number 19 Lippert Motorsports Lamborghini to the top. It's Lamborghini, Aston Martin, Porsche, then the two Ferraris that topped the times early on. First the Hondas, two more Lamborghinis, Honda, Audi, and two Porsches. That is going to change, and likely very rapidly. We've got just about 7.5 minutes left in this session, Johnny.
And Rendoni, Italian by nationality, although has strong ties to Metz as well. 50 years old, been racing only for a handful of years actually, as that was a long, lurid spin, and right in front of another GT car, possibly another Lambo. Was it the Lippert car, perhaps?
I think that might have been, looking for it, Gerhard Fatzinger's car, the Lippert number 70 car.
Yes.
But no dramas there.
Thankfully, no. But James Wood then ended up on the racing line and really wanted to get out of there quick smart, and thankfully he did a U-turn to the right just in time for Arnaud Robin to then come through in the number 10 at Aston Martin.
Well, we had a Ferrari 1-2 early on. It's a Lamborghini 1-2 now. Hiroshi Hamaguchi leads Gabriele Rendoni. He's also into the 58. It's a 1:58.131 now, just about 2/10 up on the second Lamborghini, but it's now two Hiroshis at the top. Hamaguchi leads Kazumi, and the gap 0.171 at the second. This is heating up, Johnny.
Raging Bull, faster than a prancing horse, but only by just over 1/10.5. It's 0.171 to be exact. One of the British cars now looking to try and get involved in Arnaud Robin, who slipped to 4th goes top. So that's an absolute best middle sector and an absolute best final sector for Koizumi. So it's interesting, again, that this GT3 mixture of cars where various different manufacturers are finding pace in different areas of the circuit, but only 14 thousandths of a second between Robin and Hamaguchi, previous pole sitter.
Yeah, 14 thousandths of a second is the gap. Arnold Robin, the Racing Spirit Le Mans car, number 10, Aston Martin, the only Aston in the field here. Aston, Lamborghini, Ferrari, second Lamborghini, first the Porsches, second the Ferraris, Lamborghini, Honda, Audi, and 2 Porsches complete the field.
There is a lap under investigation. That is for the number 18 Porsche of Nick Jones, the newer of the 2 Team Parker Racing 911 GT3Rs. They've got a 992 with the 4.2 litre engine hanging out the back of the rear axle, and the 4 litre flat 6 for the slightly older model, which is car 64. Currently 12th fastest. Hiroshi Hamaguchi over the line. He can't go any quicker than the previous effort that is his best so far.
But we do, Johnny, have 2 cars on very rapid laps indeed, and if either or both of them complete laps of the kind of pace we look at the moment, we're going to see laps in the 157s. That is Arnold Robin and Gabriele Rindoni, both with big first sectors, and a pretty good second sector from Robin as well. Current provisional pole sitter, and on course at the moment to dip under 158.
Lap deleted for Nick Jones because of a discretion on track limits through the second bit of Beausset. So the double droite there, just the other side of Senior corner. You have to be neat and tidy through the middle of the corner, but careful not to run out wide, well to the left there. The bodywork on that Aston doesn't seem to be sitting quite right on the left-hand side. There's a larger crack between the bonnet and the front left wheel arch than I'm used to there, but the car's still travelling through the air pretty well. And it looks, it looks even looking at the car that way. It is an improvement again.
Big improvement.
For Arnold Robin. It's nearly 6/10 of a second now from 14 thousandths, Graham.
It is 157.556. Blitzes his way to the 157s. From Hiroshi Hamaguchi, but that time is now cycled back to 3rd because Gabriele Rindoni also improved and is also in the 57s now. The gap to the provisional pole sitter, Arnold Robin, down to just over a quarter of a second, so 157.556, 157.834, and then we get to the gaggle of cars in the 158s.
Aston Martin Vantage, 2 Lamborghini Huracans, then a Porsche of Tim Kresick, the HCR with caffeine 6, number 86 car, and 2 Ferraris that earlier topped the session in the hands of Charles-Henri Samani and Hiroshi Koizumi. There's the 4th place car then with Tim Kresick at the wheel for High Class Racing HCR with their backer caffeine 6 emblazoned on the flanks of that car. Really smart paint scheme for that car this year with the sky blue roof, and it blends slowly through the darker blue and then into the pinks and purples below.
Almost camouflaged with the bright blue stripes trackside when you see it from certain angles here. But it's been in the thick of things all season, this car. Definitely it's hard contender moving forward here. Looking to see whether or not we get any further improvements. We've got improvement from Hamaguchi to go 3rd and goes quicker again in the first sector. He's not done. 2.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, so an absolute best for Hamaguchi. We've got also PBs appearing left, right and centre from, well, all sorts of different cars, including from as low down as 10th position, Lars Engelbrecht Pedersen going quicker than he's managed so far through sectors 2 and 3. He's got his time below the 2-minute marker now as well, which had to have been the target. But what about Arnold Robin? You said a 57 might be possible. He's just pulled off a 57.2 to be now exactly 6/10 of a second faster than Gabriele Rindone's Leipert Motorsport Lamborghini. Not that car, that's the 63 of Hamaguchi, but car 19 firmly back down into 2nd place now by over half a second.
Watching Hamaguchi's time here though, if he gets a clear run here through this 3rd sector, he could trouble Arnold Robin. Also, certainly looks as if he could be on the front row of the GT3 grid here. He's just off, thousandths off the pole pace, or the provisional pole pace after sector 2. How good is he? And how goes the Lamborghini in sector 3 with no traffic coming to the line any moment now? 158.071 it was, and he goes 2nd with a 158.57.468. 0.234 of the second. So Robin from Hamaguchi, Rendoni, Kresick, Samani, Kozumi, Alex Martin, Thomas Anderson, Gerhard Ratzinger, Lars Engelbrecht Pedersen, James Wood and Nick Jones.
And Vatzinger gets a lap deleted for his trouble. Lap 5 taken away again because he's gone too far exploring the outer limits of the track on the exit of the Double Droite de Beausset. And you can run so far wide out there, improving your run then into the next corner at turn 11. Here is the 19 car, dropped to third because Hiroshi Hamaguchi back up to second, so plugs the gap, and it's now just under a quarter of a second separating Arnold Robin's Aston from Hamaguchi's Lamborghini Huracan.
But both the Lamborghinis chasing here, Hamaguchi and Rendoni, are up on the pole time. Hamaguchi with a stellar first sector. Purple sector for him, and just a 10th off that mark for Rendoni, who is on predicted time at the moment. A good third sector could see him make improvements.
So it's a 33.8 for Hamaguchi through the first sector, a 30.6 through the second sector.
Bit of a wobble for the 19.
He did get out of the corner reasonably well. I don't think that was track limits for turn 14, and Hamaguchi. Time still to be registered here from the 19.
That's Rendoni.
Oh, beg your pardon, yes, that's the other car. So that's Rendoni's time did improve and got to within, again, a quarter of a second. We're still waiting for the all-green Iron Link 63 car. So it's a 157.489, plays a 157.468 at the moment. Very tight indeed.
Yeah, Rendoni did see the checkered flag there, so no further chance to improve for him. Here comes Hamaguchi.
And this is surely the potential for pole position. He goes above Arnold Robin by 81 thousandths of a second this time. However, Arnold Robin is finding a little bit more time in the number 10 Racing Spirit of Le Mans prepared Aston Martin Vantage, the team from not far from Lake Geneva in Switzerland, now heading into Beausset and entering the final sector, Graham.
Yeah, improved his first sector time. He's gone ultimately quickest in the second sector. It looked a little bit messy there though, Johnny. Let's keep an eye on this number 10 car.
That was so nip and tuck at Beausset. Did he get all four wheels over the white line, or was it a question of not all of the tyre was across all of the line? It was millimetre stuff, and it's not been called as track limits so far for the number 10 car, so let's read it as we see it. Improving through both sectors. He's only got 81 thousandths of a second to try and find, to try and make it a hat-trick of pole positions for sessions that Arnold Robin has been eligible for. Over the grid hatchings he goes, and there's a time off. No improvement.
No improvement.
So what happened in the final sector? Maybe too wide in Beausset. Not splitting the track limits, but actually nowhere near the apex.
Yeah.
meant that he lost probably only 0.05 of a second. There was a late spin for Gerhard Vatzinger at senior corner as well. You do not have small offs at that corner, rotating once and all the way around again twice, and managed thankfully then to get the Lamborghini Huracan under control.
A shame, because Ratzinger to that point had been on track to be on the second row of the grid from back in, where was he, 9th place. So that moment just extended the envelope a little bit too much there. Well, as always, Johnny, the GT3 cars do dull out the entertainment. It is Iron Links and Hiroshi Hamaguchi on pole position. The number 63 car. Quite the week for Lamborghini, unveiling their Ligier-based hypercar program, hypercar for WEC, GTP in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, in these colours. And it will be the Iron Links team that campaigned that new car in both championships.
And a terrific achievement for Hiroshi Hamaguchi. As we said, he has great history in this championship, stretching back 7 years or so. And the 63 Iron Links then, and Hiroshi Hamaguchi with the first pole position of the season from the guy that's been getting all the rest of them when Arnold Robin has been in the session. 81 thousandths of a second, the man from Le Mans misses out on pole position, but he will start on the front row in GT3. Lippert Motorsports, number 19 Lamborghini is next in third, ahead of the HCR with Caffeine 6 8, Porsche 911 GT3R for Tim Cressing. Charles-Henri Samani and Hiroshi Koizumi will start on the 5th row for AF Corsa in very similar Ferrari 488s. 296s, in fact, for those cars. Are they both the AF Corsa? Yes, they are these days. Yeah,
they are indeed.
Team Parker Racing's Alex Martin is next in the 64. Thomas Anderson for GMB Motorsport, number 55. Leipert Motorsport, Gerhard Watzinger will qualify in 9th position despite that late spin in the session, ahead of Lars Engelbrecht Pedersen in the GMB Motorsport 88. Honda NSX ahead of James Wood's Audi and Nick Jones in the Team Parker Porsche. And there are the final moments for the 63. Hiroshi Hamaguchi piloted Huracan, squirming its way out of the final corner at Virage Dupont and across the line to cement a pole position. 157.153. And if you like that, well, we're now going to times the field by over 2 amounts. So we had 12 cars out on track, double that and add 6, 30 LMP3 cars about to explode into life out onto the Le Castellet asphalt. A mixture of Ligier and Duqueine vehicles, although predominantly it is the Ligier JSP 320 with the Nissan 5.6-litre engine, and Duqueine have 4 M30s in the field for DKR, for Nielsen Racing, for Murphy Prototypes and for Hegeli by T2 Racing.
Big news for LMP3 this week, Johnny. We were talking about that just before we came over to the booth. But there's going to be a new engine note to be heard in just a few years' time. These cars, Orica, will be supplying the powertrain as they currently do with this very distinctive rumbling 5.6-litre Nissan engine. This engine now out of production and will be replaced by it's a twin-turbo V6, am I right?
You are, yes.
But we don't know much more about this engine quite yet. We'll get to that, I'm sure, in due course. But for now, we're going to enjoy 30 LMP3 cars out on track for this 15-minute session. As we saw just a few moments ago with GT3, you can expect some thrills, some thrills and spills in this one, as these drivers try to get to grips with this circuit and their machines as quickly as they possibly can. Temperature out there is going up and going up rapidly. It's been in the mid-30s most of the week and does not show any signs of quitting soon. It's going to be a very warm afternoon aboard these cars. This is the Murphy Prototypes number 48, Adrian Watts, and the newly installed Will Powell. Will, with GT racing experience behind him and more recently British touring cars. Jerry Kraut and Scott Andrews, the number 22 car for United Autosports. This has been a championship in LMP3, Johnny, that's provided a real nursery, if you like, for talent with the drivers and the teams to start to move up the order in ACL World Racing. Whether or not they stay with LMP3, or in the case of very many teams, they moved on to the GT3 ranks like TF Sport have in the past and Lynx did in the past, into GTE, in the case of LMP3 teams, and onwards into LMP2 and beyond.
And for a long period of time, you couldn't beat a little team from Luxembourg known as DKR Engineering. Just caught a glimpse of the number 3 car that will be in this session for Alexander Bukantsov and James Winslow. And they've had 2 free practice sessions already, these cars. They took place yesterday, each of 60 minutes. So there was one in the morning and one in the late evening that ran from 6 o'clock. And obviously the stewards are paying close attention to the various goings on in those sessions, and we get bulletins coming through about indiscretions. One of the more comical ones, though, of this weekend so far, decision number 4 from yesterday, which was during the first free practice session at 11:05. A bulletin released to tell us that one of the drivers of the number 3, now I'm not sure whether it's Alexander Bukantsov or Jamie Winslow, but they were done for not wearing underpants.
Yeah.
Now, we often talk about motor racing and those kind of very hit-and-miss moments where you might need a new pair of underpants, but apparently this driver didn't have any even at the start of the session. Now, who's in charge of checking that, Graham?
I don't know, but I'm glad it's not me, Johnny. All I can say is I'm trying desperately hard to come up with a funny that involves the word commando. But I'm sure we'll get the opportunity for a funny that involves the phrase skid marks at some point in this session.
Indeed so. Well, it's €1,000 fine for not doing that. Who knew? And definitely worth not making that mistake in the future. We say it in jest, but of course there are an awful lot of mandated fireproof bits of clothing and garments that must be worn at all times when you're behind the seat of behind the wheel of a racing car. And everything must be ticked and checked before you head out, even in a free practice session. A number of us had a chuckle about that yesterday afternoon. Cars are being released out onto the racetrack, and 15 minutes begins to tick by with pretty much everybody, I think, in the queue. Sometimes in the World Endurance Championship we see Toyota and a few other teams hanging back and not joining the queue straight away, but actually the priority here is to start to get some heat in the tyres and the brakes, and also because it's an all-bronze session, you want to try and get more confident and quicker through the whole period of that 15 minutes.
Yep, it is, as always, a learning curve for very many of these bronze-ranked drivers. Many of them with a lot of experience, some of them with very little. And they'll be keen to squeeze as much track time as they possibly can out of their racing weekend. Remember, it's not just about competition, it's about passion for these non-professional drivers. And here's the amazing truth, Johnny. It isn't cheap to come and race these cars for a weekend. And every second counts to squeeze in all the enjoyment you can out of these machines. Classic view down the Mistral Straight, titoed by Ageli Motorsports. Duquesne gets very chuffed about. Hills in the background, the other classic view here with the blue and later further out the red stripes here. Legacy of its days as the HTTT, High Technology Test Track. And this facility was in the ownership of one Mr. Bernie Eccleston.
Pole positions this year, by the way, have to remember all the way back to April and Barcelona for James Swetnam. He took pole in the number 39 Ligier that he shares with Luca Allen. I think that's the same partnership again this time. Oh no, it's not, beg your pardon. Paul Trajani, the Frenchman, replacing effectively Luca Allen from the Barcelona round. Then we had qualifying at Le Mans, but the first session of when did it run? Wednesday, I think, of race week was actually reserved for the silver or gold drivers. So that was Manuel Espirito Santo who took pole position by almost half a second over Wayne Boyd. A fascinating session there, and as I say, unique in the process of the year because it's otherwise bronze drivers. And Fabien Michel in the number 2 car, who is the bronze, sharing with Kirill Smal again this weekend. But Michel took pole position for the second race at Le Mans. So we've had, in fact, 3 different pole sitters so far. Could it be 4?
Indeed. Well, here's one that will be hoping he's going to be amongst them. It's Alton Gudmundsson, Icelandic driver in Team Tour, and with Colin Noble joining Alton this year. He's vaulted their form forwards dramatically, and he's flashing the lights. I think he might be the next sport car ahead of him. Guys. So coming through, looking for a clear run through for his first run to a provisional pole time. 30 cars on track. It's busy, even though it is just a qualifying session with one class.
Yeah.
Smash hits.
This is what we've become used to over the years. Actually, I've reminded myself that even though the 58 took pole position in the first session at Le Mans, that's not a full season entry. So actually the 23 car didn't get the point for pole because it doesn't quite work like that. You don't inherit the point. It just wasn't rewarded for that session. But Wayne Boyd did get a pole for the 23 car championship-wise in that standalone all gold or silver session. Now Miguel Cristobal in the 68 car will whip across the line in the M Racing Ligier.
He's the first to set a competitive time. Is indeed Alton Gudmundsson. It's 1:56.0 is the time to beat. At the moment 3/10 up now. Chris Short crosses the line. In fact, it's into Europol cars flash by and it goes 1-2, 13 and 15, but almost as quickly as we can say it. More cars coming through to better those times. Still the 13 of Ben Stone is on pole position provisionally. 10.5 minutes to go. It's a good time from him. It's a 1:55.0. 0.458 a second ahead.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a decent margin to be leaning on. It's a couple of tenths back then to Chris Short in the second Inter-Europol competition, Ligier. Best DK, Alexander Bukatsov in the much talked about number 3 DKR Engineering crew. As I say, for about the first 4 years of the Michelin Le Mans Cup welcoming LMP3 cars, it was DKR Engineering winning absolutely everything before Colin Noble and Tony Wells finally broke that stranglehold a couple of years ago. Matthias Luton for MV2S Racing goes over the line and goes to first position.
And by a chunk as well, by 0.788 of a second. And we'll see Matthias, a late change for him, sees him competing in the European Le Mans Series as well with Euro International. So 1:54.267 is the time to beat.
Ben Stone, the nearest to him at the moment, on a 1:55.0 for Inter-Europol. 360 Racing's Terence Woodward in the number 26 car, enjoying a third fastest time at the moment. Be nice to see Terence Woodward, you know, having a podium finish soon enough, because that car, when they were previously in the championship, was always very strong. He's sharing with Tommy Foster. Gudmundsson
goes back to the top. He topped the session with a 1:55.0. It's a 1:54.0 now. So whatever Colin Noble's been putting in his cornflakes, it's working. Great stuff from Auden. It was quite dismissive, I think you probably remember, Johnny, when he first came and joined this championship, of his prospects. But he's consistently impressed with the progress he's been making.
Yeah, agreed. And, you know, sometimes it is incremental steps across many seasons sometimes, as you really get to grips with the car, and actually driving the thing almost has to start to become muscle memory, because you've then got such a busy race to have to deal with as well. But the bronze drivers initially just need to work out how to dovetail into how one of these cars behaves on a very fast track here. But then we go to some tight and twisty affairs like Portimao later in the year. Spa's a very quick track, although it has various different sectors to it, as many of you know. Fabien Michel now for CD Sport, the Spanish team, car 2 to the top. So 0.372 of a second, the gap back to Matthias Luton. Adrian Schiller in the 87 Cool Racing car up to third. It's all changed again. Louis Saint-Juin slots in between to the front row between Michel and Matthias Luton to go second.
Yeah, big chunks of improvement coming here. Remember 1:55.0, so the Sunday, remember 1:53.3 for the leading time. And we're halfway through this session.
And Shahan Sarkissian, the Lebanese driver, up to 5th place as well in the number 11 CD Sport car. So CD Sport, the team from Spain, running 1st and 6th now, as Adrian Schiller goes a little swifter in the 87 car. Tony Wells back in the top 4 as well, but albeit briefly, because Auden Gudmundsson goes through with a 1:53.7 to get back onto the second row alongside the Team Virage car of Julien Gerby, the car we're concentrating on at the moment. So over the line he will go, and back to the Ferrari S at the start of the lap. It's Fabien Michel with 0.3 of a second in hand over Louis Saint-Juin for Cool Racing. So Spanish outfit from Swift's team, Poland represented, and MV2S of France. So a real mixture of nationalities from where the cars are prepared as well.
Yeah, it's tight time differences here. Just looking, top 10, all the 1:53s. Includes one Duquesne down in 9th from DKR Engineering. But the biggest gap by far is the gap to the pole position man, Fabien Michel, 0.3. After that, it's tiny gaps.
Matthias Luton, currently 4th, but he's done an absolute best first sector. Oh, but there's a spinner right in front of him, and that will massively delay him. But at the same time, he'll be taking a deep breath to think, thankfully, I didn't wipe the front of the car off. That's the 360 racing car of James Dayson, who was having his own moment. And Matthias Luton for MV2S Racing over the line. He had to get out of the gas. That was the big problem.
He was clearly there in for a pole position time.
So Dayson's having his own moment, but it is mere feet in front of the MV2S racing car, and good avoidance action. Thankfully Dayson spun away from the nose of the orange and black Ligier, but there was definitely a blip where Matthias Luton just got off the throttle pedal in avoidance, and that cost him a second.
Lots of improvements potentially underway here. This is going to change again. 5 minutes to go. Fabien Michel's provisional pole position is not safe here. At the moment, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars on a potentially pole-taking schedule, and the first of them is Julian Gerby, and he goes to the top. It's a 1:53.138, followed through by Alexander Bukantsov in that number 3 car engineering. 9th was the quickest Duquesne just a few moments ago. Now it's second by 49 thousandths per second.
Yeah, so each of the 2 chassis manufacturers represented on the front row now, and entirely different cars from about 30 seconds ago. Julian Gerby in the 16 Virage car from Alexander Bukantsov of the United Arab Emirates, running its second fastest car, ahead now of Fabien Michal, although Michal is finding time on this lap. He's just gone through sector 2 quicker than he has managed all session. We've only got 4.5 minutes still to go, and the 87 car of Adrian Schiller might be about to improve. He will cross the line running in 7th. He goes top by 0.6 of a second.
Wow.
Where's he found that from?
Wow, that is very impressive indeed. Matthias Lurton goes through in 2nd place. He takes 0.15 out of that gap, but almost half a second back. So 2 cars now in the 152s. It's a 152.443, Adrian Schiller.
This is precisely what we've been saying about with the bronze drivers being less experienced than their teammates on the whole. The further they can go through the session, the more time they will find. Obviously, track conditions are steadily improving. There's more Michelin rubber going down, and the heat in the track is growing as well. You don't want that to be sky high, but what are we, 1 o'clock in the afternoon now? But still, clearly, there is plenty of speed to be found, as Bukantsov's just done an absolute best through the first sector again.
He's 2/10 up, and what can he do here? Could Bukantsov go top here? 4 car engineering, it's going to be close.
I think certainly he'll gain a few spots. Oh, no, he doesn't. He doesn't at all, in fact,
No,
so it shows how much I know.
That's 3 seconds off, so he had a poor final sector there, presumably with traffic. But he has the pace to do it here.
Yeah.
Louis San Juan is on a good lap, so too is Odin Gudmundsson. He goes through, he does improve, but he stays 6th in the Team 12 car, 1:53.274. That's now almost a second off.
So it's a 1:52.4 that has just been set by Adrian Schiller, leading by just under half a second over Matthias Lüten for MV2S. Fabien Michal, who's been provisional pole, then back to 4th, back to provisional pole, then to 2nd. He's been up and down, yo-yoing through the session, but Michal may still have a little bit more to give. These are endurance race tyres, remember, there's not a specific qualifying tyre, so you should still be able to find the performance this far into the session.
8th quickest in the session is the number 97 car. That's why we're looking at it up on the pole time at the moment, just as he comes to the line. This is Louis San Juan. Can he improve here? And the answer is... he does not.
No, 1:58.7.
It's a very slow final sector.
Again, it was fairly busy around him, and Julian Gerby's having the same problem as well. There's a Duquesne there that he needs to dispatch at turn 11. So that might, again, have messed up this lap for him in the final sector. Looking very good to this point, though. 11 thousandths of a second up through the first, and over a 10th he's found in the middle sector. But what can he do in the closing stages? Virage du Lac, the penultimate corner. Virage du Pont, the right-hander. And now he's back onto the start and finish straight. Matthias Lüten, absolute best in sector 1. But Julian Gerby does not improve again.
It's that
it's
final
all being
sector.
lost in the final sector.
The times are dropping like a stone in the final sector. So
But
still Adrian Schiller from Matthias Lurton. Lurton at the moment is up on the pole time after the 2nd sector, but just by a 10th. Adrian Schiller is down by about a 10th on his own best time. It is 1 minute to go. Both of these drivers should get a chance to go through and have one more crack at it. Louis San Juan clears sector 2 now in the Cool Racing car, still 8th. He's 0.3 up on the pole time. It's not done, Johnny.
Schiller, if he can continue this pace that he's finding in the middle sector all the way through, then he may be okay. But Lüten is the guy who's gone purple in sector 1 on this lap and is still finding a decent amount of time through the middle sector as well. But will this finish to the lap that's biting everybody. Drop again, the wrong side for Matthias Luton. I think he's got pace in hand here. Luton will go across the line. It is an improvement, but it doesn't switch him to pole position. So he was already on the front row, and he doesn't leapfrog Adrian Schiller, but he has got the time down to a 1:52.7. Schiller's best effort, a 1:52.4.
Louis Saint-Jean did drop time again in that final sector. He was 3/10 up on pole position after sector 2. Checkered flag is out. He's moved up, but only to 7th, and we're disappointed with that. Who's still got an opportunity to do it? That was a change.
Shahan Sarkissian, the guy we're concentrating for CD Sport, has gone 3rd as his last possible lap because he saw the checkered flag crossing the line there. But Sarkissian, with previous club racing experience as far back as 15 or so years ago with the BARC in the UK, now up to 3rd to make it an all CD Sport second row.
Yeah.
And Bukatsov might be leaving it late, but he hasn't gone better through any of the sectors so far.
Yeah. Nielsen Racing's Tony Wells comes through. He improved to 6th. Team Ferrari's Julian Jerby bails out and pits at the end of that lap.
So we're waiting for Adrian Schiller, Fabian Michal and Matthias Luton in the closing stages. They all managed to squeak an extra lap out of this relatively short 15-minute session. Doesn't
look immediately to be under threat. It was the pace has been dropping off in that 3rd sector more than anything. I don't think it's just traffic, Johnny.
No.
It just seems people are not losing a 10th or 2, they're losing a 2nd or 2.
Yeah, well, it's whether it's too much curb or running a bit too wide at Beausset. Beausset is in that final corner.
Alden Gudmundsson, track limits on that final lap, and the same for Louis Saint-Jean. There's going to be no improvements from Louis Saint-Jean. Be no better than 9th to start there. Fabien Michal, who led this session for quite a while, comes through to take the checkered flag. There's no improvement there for him either. And Cool Racing and MV2S pit their cars. I think that's all she wrote.
Louis Saint-Jean knows he's got pace, but this lap is not going to count, as you've mentioned. John Schauerman does improve, but to 17th, so not going to be troubling the first 5 rows. But Schauerman in the number 23 United Autosports car gained about 7 or 8 places there with that final lap, so he did get it all together. There were improvements further down the order. Fabien Michal, no, Shahan Sarkissian, in fact, on his final tour, as we described, did improve to get to 3rd position for CD Sport and forced Fabien Michal from one side of the grid to the other to make it an all CD Sport 2nd row ahead of Team Virage's Julian Jerby, who toyed with pole position through a lot of that session. He'll start on the 3rd row now together with Tony Wells, but it is Adrian Schiller in the 87 Cool Racing car that we're focusing on now, just about the first grid box of the whole of the pit lane. So convenient when you're coming in to make your mandatory stop, just to pull to the right immediately and be welcomed by the team. A 1:52.443 for Adrian Schiller, his first pole position of the season. He's joined by Matthias Luton for MV2S Racing, only a couple of tenths, nearly 3/10 slower. Then the 2 CD Sport cars of Shahan Sarkissian and Fabien Michal. Then it's Julian Jerby for Team Virage and Nielsen Racing's Tony Wells. Alexander Bukatsov in the best of the Duquesnes for DKR Engineering, starting alongside Alden Gudmundsson for Team Tour of Iceland, number 77. Louis Saint-Jean and Ben Stone for Cool Racing and Inter-Europol competition, respectively. Then it's Oscar Bitar for Team Virage, James Swetnam, previously a pole sitter at Barcelona for Graf Racing. 360 Racing's Terence Woodward will start 13th ahead of Christoph Kress, Peter de Curtens, John Melsom, and the rest. I only managed to get down to 16th place. There's about another 14 cars within that session. It is going to be a busy start at 5:10 this afternoon, Graham.
42 cars to take the start for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. It is exactly the same number for the European Le Mans Series tomorrow, 42 cars. Put those 2 grids together, plus the Ligiers that are here too. Over 100 sports cars here this weekend.
Terrific stuff. And remember that if a GT3 car was faster in qualifying than the tail-enders in LMP3, then it will start in front of them on the grid. There is no split gridding of the cars, so it makes that pinch point at Verrerie all the more important as well. People say qualifying for a 1 hour 50-minute race is not important. I would wager you'd much sooner be in Adrian Schiller's seat at the front and away from potentially all the carnage behind. Join us for the race later. 5:10 local. We'll be on 20 minutes before that for the build-up.